Do you find yourself struggling to balance writing your plot and developing your characters, and then explaining the events of the story, and writing character actions and dialogue, plot and character, plot and character, plot and character, plot and... Enough! Hi, I'm indie author and vlogger Garrett K. Jones, and this month on Creator's Corner, I'm breaking down a few tips for balancing plot and character. Hey, happy Saturday. Before I get too far into today's video, I want to remind you to be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. New videos come out every Saturday, and so you can set those notifications for all videos or according to your preferences. So if you're anything like me, you're probably incredibly frustrated and or probably a little pissed off with this whole coronavirus crap that's been happening all across the country. Just to let you know, me and mine are safe and have not been exposed. And in fact, there isn't a single case in our area, at least that I know about. Some nearby counties have announced cases, but it's less than 10 total. However, this makes it incredibly challenging since everything's been closed, and that technically puts me out of a job for the next 3 to 4 weeks, give or take. I work as a substitute teacher, and so we are not on contract, meaning that I don't get paid for the time that I'm supposed to be scheduled. That said, I'd like to announce that everything with regards to Patreon is back on track with a variety of patron levels, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. For now, let's get on with today's writing tip. Okay, so normally I try to make sure that the monthly Creators Corner videos tie back into whatever's being talked about in the podcast. However, neither of the topics from this past Monday or this coming Monday really fit in as vlog material. The podcast from this past Monday contains an interview with a local artist and photographer that I've been friends with for years, who just did a recent installation at our King's Art Center. And I got the chance to interview her with regards to the topics of substance abuse, mental health, and suicide awareness and prevention, and how those three things play factors into stopping us as writers from being able to write and create. Not just writers, but writing was kind of the episode. This coming Monday will focus on criticisms that we get for our writing, less of a writing tip and more of a personal response to how we deal with criticism. That being said, let's take a look at today's content. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing you guys a list of ways to help you balance the structure of your plot with the development of your characters. So when you are balancing these two factors, you're going to be dealing with three things. One is the goal, two is the conflict, and three is the evolution. Let's start with the goal. So the goal is actually going to take on two forms. The first form it's going to take on is the external goal, and the second form is going to be the internal goal. These work hand in hand with plot and character respectively. The external goal is what the character or characters need to accomplish by the time the plot comes to an end. The internal goal focuses on what the character or characters want out of life. This goes beyond the plot elements. This is something personal. Take one of my favorite films of all time, The Last Samurai. I know this film gets a ton of flack for some of the historical inaccuracies and how Tom Cruise is portrayed as the so-called white savior, but Cruise's Captain Algren is a great depiction of external goal versus internal goal. At the beginning of the film, Algren is contracted by the Japanese Empire to train their soldiers for modern warfare, as he was an expert in dealing with native insurgency after riding alongside General Custer. Yeah, that dillhole. So his plot goal is to train and prepare the soldiers, and the goal changes to helping the samurai prepare for war against the men he spent the first act of the film training. Algren's internal goal is far more complicated. He deals with PTSD from the horrors experienced during the Battle of Little Bighorn and witnessing firsthand the slaughter of innocent men, women, and children.
Sake.
He tries to drink this away, and a forced sobriety causes him to face those demons and come to terms with them as he learns from the culture of the samurai. Next, we take a look at conflict, which is again broken into external and internal, plot and character. External deals with conflict created by the driving goals of both the protagonist and the antagonist. Once you identify that, the plot will be fairly set, for the most part. But you also have to balance out the internal conflict. What is the internal conflict? The best question is, how is the external conflict driven by the character's internal conflict? So going back to my reference to The Last Samurai, the mounting conflict is the impending battle between Japan's modern army and the samurai, fighting to preserve their culture and tradition. Instead of Cruise's character, I'm actually looking at Katsumoto, played brilliantly by Ken Watanabe. He wants to serve his emperor, and the film states he believes he's doing just that with his rebellion, having been the mentor for the young Emperor Meiji, who was barely in his teens at this point in history. Now, government leaders look at Katsumoto as a rebel dissident, while he sees himself as truly loyal to his emperor. To give in would bring dishonor and shame to him, his family, and his country. He knows he's going to a death sentence either way, but at least in battle, he can preserve his honor. Thirdly, we have the evolution. Here there's no external or internal, just plot and character. The plot evolution asks how your character is going to change his or her outer goals and respond to the antagonistic force over the course of the story. It's action. Basically, what are they going to do to make what they need to happen. The character evolution focuses on the change in the character's attitude over the course of the story and how that change will be demonstrated in the external flow of the plot. This is mental. For this, my example comes from Emperor Meiji himself. At the beginning of The Last Samurai, Meiji was totally all for westernization and modernization, to the point that he began neglecting the traditional culture of his heritage and his people. Part of this came from his political advisors, especially Omura, who pretty much cowed the emperor and ran him like a puppet while they controlled the government for their own political and financial gain. By the end of the film, Meiji realizes that the Japan at the beginning of the film had forgotten its traditions rather than quickly creating a schism of ideologies that violently clashed, resulting in hundreds if not thousands of his own people dead, as well as the loss of Katsumoto, who was a very dear friend to him. There is a midpoint scene at the end of Act 2 where Meiji asks for Katsumoto's advice because he didn't want to fight and he wanted to avoid labeling his friend as a traitor. Katsumoto advises him to do what he saw best and that he was willing to commit seppuku right then and there if commanded to do so. By the end of the film, Meiji's attitude has changed. He still wants to modernize, but not at the expense of losing his cultural heritage and forgetting everything altogether, even to the point of honoring Katsumoto as a hero of the people and not as a rebel. At least that's my takeaway at the very end of the story. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video or if you had questions about some of the content I shared, please leave a comment in the comment section down below and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. As I mentioned earlier, there is a major update with my Patreon account, specifically the support tiers. I've got 3 tiers. The first is the Mage. For as little as $1 a month, not only will you see your name listed as a supporter during the credits of the last vlog of the month, you'll get 24 hours early access to the first vlog of each month. If you step that up to the Dragon Warrior level, for $3 a month, you'll not only get the rewards from the Mage level, you'll also have access to a view-only copy of an early draft of a chapter from Book 5. And if you sign up for the Guardian of the Heavens tier, which is $5 a month, you get the rewards from the first 2 levels, plus a chance to be invited on my vlog to ask me 3 questions about my writing, my books, and anything covered on my vlogs or podcasts. As always, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at GKJ_publishing, as well as check out my podcast, also called Creators Corner, which can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Spotify, and many other platforms. I kind of stroked out there for a moment. I love interacting with my followers, and both social media and the podcast are a great way to interact to questions and the need for more writing tips. The vlog of the Five Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. And we can't do this without you. So be sure to click the subscribe button that's above my head, support us on Patreon, and of course, check out and share these other videos off to my left. At least you won't have to wash your hands before sharing these videos at all on social media. So have a great weekend.